Hey folks, welcome today to the DeerHuntingGuide.net channel. Today we'd like to answer a question that we get many times from our readers, which is how to make a mock scrape. We're going to show you today. We're going to show you the reasons you want to make a mock scrape, what makes a successful mock scrape, and then we're going to set up a trail cam on the mock scrape to show you throughout the season exactly what can happen when you build a mock scrape. So let's first talk about the three essential things that you need to have a successful mock scrape. Number one, in my view, you have to have a licking branch. What is a licking branch? A licking branch is kind of a social hub in the whitetail world, similar to a coffee shop or a bar in a human world, where everybody stops by, everybody sees everybody else, they know who's been there, what's going on, and the whitetails use them, especially the bucks during the mating season, to find out what stage of the breeding season of the rut that they're in. So number one, we're going to look for a licking branch, and I'll also show you that you don't have to find a licking branch. You can actually make a licking branch and have the whitetails using them. Number two, you want to be near or on a well-used trail. That's extremely important, because if you're building a mock scrape where there are no deer, obviously it's going to get very little use. And then number three is the use of scents, and what scents you should be using and when. In other words, we don't want to be using doe and heat scent when there's no chance of does being in heat, because the bucks aren't going to respond to that. So we're going to cover those three things. If you look behind me here, you will see a licking branch that we have set up in years past. This is where we are going to make our mock scrape. It's the middle of October. It's about time that the bucks are starting to open up their scrapes. So right here is where we're going to start. And if we look here, you'll see this is our licking branch. You can see it's all broken up from last year. It's about 5 feet high, which is a good height, anywhere from probably 4.5 to maybe 6.5 tops feet. And then we're going to clear the ground underneath it, and we're going to use scent. I'm also going to show you how to set up a scrape dripper here. So first things first, here's our licking branch. We have a trail right here. There's a big rub here from last year where these bucks were coming through here. There's also another trail just up here that the does use quite often. We're on a bench here between a bedding area over this way and a feeding area down this way. We have tree stands set up about 30 yards up this way, which is ideal, especially when we have a wind out of this direction. The bucks come out of the bedding area up here on the ridges. They come down along here. In order to get the scent from this, they've got to go to that point over there, which takes them right by our stand. Boom. And we have successfully done that with a beautiful 12-pointer a couple years ago. Came right along this ridge here just to scent this and walked by us at 15 yards where he was arrowed successfully. So here we go. What I'm going to show you is I've cut a branch, because we're going to set up a scrape dripper here. Now, we don't want the scrape dripper to be on the licking branch, because that would get in the deer's way. The deer would be ripping the scrape dripper down all the time. So what we want to do is we're going to tie a branch in above the licking branch. By tying it in above the licking branch, the scrape dripper will drip our scent onto the licking branch and then onto the scrape below, making it very realistic. We'll keep it high enough that it's out of the reach of the whitetail, and we'll be in good shape here. So stay tuned. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to tie this branch in. First I'm going to put a scrape dripper on it, then I'm going to tie it in, and we'll show you how that's done in a minute. Stay tuned. Okay folks, so the next part in our making a mock scrape is we're going to set up our scrape dripper. This is a scrape dripper. It basically works on temperature, expansion and contraction. As the day warms, it will feed through this tube and drip, therefore only dripping during the daytime, which is ideal. At night, when it cools down, this will stop dripping, so there's nothing entering the scrape at night. Therefore, bucks realize that it's only being scented during the day, and hopefully they come around during the day to check on it. Like I said, it's worked before. We'll see it work again. So basically this just unscrews, and we're going to fill it with scent. We're using Wildlife Research Center Active Scrape. Like I said, it's the middle of October, so they're just opening these up. So we're trying to imitate bucks using and opening the scrape and using it. So we want buck urine, which is what the active scrape is. As the season progresses and we get into probably the first week of November, we will start putting some doe and heat scent in there as the first does begin to come into heat, and that will hopefully really get them fired up. So we're just going to put a few ounces in there, and like I said, again, it's Wildlife Research Center active scrape. You can order it online, Amazon.com, Cabela's, any of those places. But yeah, you can order it online, have it shipped right to your door. Best way to do it. All right, now we're going to tie this to the branch, and then from there we're going to tie it in. So stay tuned. So this is the branch that we have cut to use for this purpose. All right, we're simply going to tie this on here. And then once we get this tied on, we're going to go ahead over and we're going to tie it into the tree just above the scrape. All right, here we go. So there you go. Now you can see that it's well, approximately 6.5 feet tall, hanging right over our licking branch. It's going to drip on the branch, and then it's going to drip into our scrape. Basically, to make the scrape, we just do it with our boots. We wear rubber boots, and it'd probably be a good time to talk about scent control. I'll leave a tip. I'll leave a link below here on our 20 scent control tips article, which is very good. It is key to be as scent-free as possible. All these clothes were washed in scent-free detergent, stored in an airtight container. I took a shower with scent-free soap, scent-free shampoo. I use a scent-free deodorant. It's a stone. It works very, very well. I use it all season long. Stay as scent-free as you can. Try to not let the bucks know that you've been here. You can't be 100% scent-free, but you certainly can be 80%, 90%. Do whatever you can to eliminate your scent. All right, so we have that there. I'm going to go ahead and make this scrape now. It's very simple. One thing I do when I first make the scrape is I'll doctor it up a little bit. Now that scrape is ready to go. Like I said, it's mid-October. We are going to set a camera up on a tree right over here, so we'll be able to document what's using the scrape. Again, we have a tree stand about 30 yards up this way on this little bench. One of the keys to tree stand placement is you want to be hunting downwind of the scrape, because what happens when these bucks come in, they're not going to come in upwind and just walk right to a scrape. They're going to circle downwind of the scrape in order to scent check it to see if anything's been using it. So you got to get it set up properly so that as they circle downwind, they're going to come by your tree stand. We're 30 yards up there. What we found here is because of the terrain, the bucks tend to circle about 40 to 50 yards out and circle around to get downwind. So by being 30 yards, we're within 20 yards, a 20-yard shot of where that buck is going to be. And we can only hunt this on a southwest wind going this way, because the bucks bed up here in the ridges, and then they come down and they'll come across to scent check it, and they will cross by our tree stand before they get downwind of us. That's key. If the buck gets downwind of you, we fooled a lot of deer with ozonics, with nose jammer, but what we're finding is, as you get into mature bucks that are 4.5, 5.5 years old, it's almost impossible to fool their nose. We had a good experience with a 3.5-year-old buck the other day using nose jammer. We got him to come downwind. We got him downwind. We got him at 22 yards, but all he would do was put his head out into the opening, and he smelled us, and he smelled us, and he stayed there for a long time. So had we had a clear shot, we could have harvested him, but he never gave us a clear shot, and that's usually the case. And he turned around and just walked back. Very unusual for a deer to scent you and not take off. The deer clearly smelled something with the nose jammer, but he was not extremely alarmed. I'm sure any of you that have spent any time in the woods know that when a mature buck gets downwind of you, it's like slapping them on the ass. They just turn around and run once they smell you. I mean, they know that something's wrong when they're 20 yards away and they smell you. This deer never did that. He just turned around and slowly walked away. At the same time, we had does feeding downwind of us the whole time. Never, ever spooked or became alarmed. They smelled something, they'd stick their nose up in the air and smell around, but that nose jammer, that stuff really works. So here we are. Our mock scrape is done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to set up a camera on the mock scrape, and then we'll be all done here. We'll be ready to hunt it. Okay folks, so the last step in making our mock scrape is we want to set up our trail cam. We want to make sure it's pointed at the scrape. We're going to point it at the scrape and towards the trail this way, so we can see bucks coming or going if they come on this trail. And this will document what bucks are using our scrape and when, and will give us some great intel into how to hunt them. A couple of tips for trail cams. We're going to want to set it up about just under waist high, like thigh high. We are approximately 15-20 feet from the scrape right here, which will give us some good quality photos. And we want to point it in a northerly direction if possible. If you don't point it in a northerly direction, you are going to have some periods of the day where you're going to get glare from the sun. So if possible, point your cameras in a northerly direction. Let's go ahead and get this set up. And there you go. Camera is armed and ready to go. So what we're going to do is, as we take these trail cam pics and as we go through the season, we will post these pics down below the article at DeerHuntingGuide.net and see just how successful we were in building our mock scrape. Thanks for joining us today, folks, and we'll see you over at DeerHuntingGuide.net.